SportsKhabri with me, Aradhi and Rishi. I'm Rahul, and the one game left in Euro 2024, the final between Spain and England. I think the neutral favorites are Spain, but then you've got this resilient England side that have pushed their way. I think sort of punched above their weight and made it to the final of this competition. Adi, yeah, dude, what do you make of the final? Excited for it? And yeah, who do you expect to come away with the win at the end?
I think with the finalists, I think on one hand, I think everyone would have expected Spain to move in through the finals. On the other side, you have England, who people would have maybe not expected them to be in that finals. But again, if you looked at the draw since the playoffs, you could have said England had a good chance because of the entire, you know, pathway towards the group, finals. It was a bit more easier than on the left hand side where Spain had to play Germany, France had to play Portugal, etc. So yeah, we're in the finals now. Looking at the finals, it's a one-off game now. I think a lot of what's happened in the entire tournament, to an extent, you can forget about it because it's literally a one-off game. Even if you've been playing by the entire tournament or not the greatest football, it's just you have to get the result on the day, which England have weirdly been doing it every game since the start of Euros, right? Looking at both the semi-finals, if we start off with the Spain semis when they played France, you can say Spain again were a bit same thing as England, a bit lucky to go through because looking at the game they played against Germany, then against France, even though they were very good in possession, outside possession they still had a lot of chances where they could have conceded goals. Even in the France game, if Mbappe in the final third had a better decision making, better finishing, they could have scored a couple of goals also, France. So Spain can always be there to concede the goals. And looking at England, they're a team who are very blunt. They don't look like they can score much of goals because, the attack they have, when you have Harry Kane and Phil Foden, Bellingham, they're trying to play for yourselves. Whatever the way they play, it's always going to, the balance is not there for them to also score goals. So it's going to be an interesting fight in terms of just a bit of edge. Can you firstly defend better? Because, as we know, like both teams struggled in defensively, in my opinion. Maybe England have been a bit more decent, but when I look at the keeper, I still feel like one long range shot you can still score, and that's how Simon scored. And looking at the Spain's keeper, he's a guy who's erratic. Also on the ball, he can just kick it back to the opposition team, and then they can come off, score a goal, maybe who knows. So it's going to be a very weird game. I think both teams are equally balanced in terms of their so-called bozo gene.
But I think Spain will do a little better in terms of defensively, just speaking, because last game, Jesus Navas he struggled against Mbappe. I think he wasn't able to keep up, and all of the chances that Mbappe I think had were all came from the left hand side. Beat him a couple of times. He came inside and he shot wide. And I think once he completely missed it. It went over the bar. But yeah,
Spain can do well defensively if Kane is going to start and play the entire 90 minutes of the final. Then I'm confident Spain can easily. Yeah, but to be fair, he got subbed out last two games. But it's the finals. I don't know how Southgate will manage Kane. And I'm sure if like Kane's going to finish the entire 90 minutes, like England won't be able to win it with him on the pitch for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that will fill them with confidence is Danny Carvajal returns at right back. But it's not like there's any major threat for England on their left hand side, anyways. If Kieran Trippier starts at left back or whatever that weird left wing back position that he's been playing, it's not like he's got a big deal to worry about. The threat is obviously on the other side. Bukayo Saka against Kukurea Rishi. Like, do you think that's where the game is won or lost?
I mean, this season and actually the previous couple of seasons, whenever they've played for their respective clubs, it's always been like Bukayo Saka getting the better out of Cucurella has been, and that has been the case for Cucurella for most of the club seasons at least. And to be fair, in his defense, he's had a pretty solid World Cup. He's been doing well, like from an attacking perspective, from a positional perspective, and not letting your man run in behind or get the better of you. Cucurella has been doing decently, and from England perspective, Saka has been one of their few bright lights or highlights of the tournament. He's been doing really well, and even if you see last game also, it was more on the right side, that even when Foden was drifting in and Kobe Mainu also on the right side, it was from the right side that they created. Mainu set up Foden also. So most of the things were happening from the right side for England. So it'll be quite interesting what happens, because this time this is this game, I think Lenormand will also be back, and it's a different question whether he'll be picked or Nacho, because I felt Nacho did really well last
Yeah, he
game,
was pretty
because
good. He was pretty good.
he had, like, even on occasions where Jesus Navas went up and Mbappe was right on through behind, I felt Nacho did a little bit better. Like, he had that composure. He didn't show him on the inside that easily. He was defending with patience. So I feel he can also do a little bit better. But like Adi said, Spain is a team that tends to overdo things. Like, they can give the ball, like, in accordance to them wanting to keep the ball, they might just do something unnecessary and like avoidable in the back, like just give away a loose ball or something like that. And England have really good forwards, like, who are waiting to pounce on a mistake. Like, I think that's how they scored against Denmark also, like, from a very loose ball that was put across where it could have been cleared. I think Kane went in and pounced on that. So it all comes down to, for Spain at least, it comes down to how disciplined they are in the defense. Because if they can keep their composure, which they've done, I feel in the groups, like earlier stages of the tournament, they were very disciplined at the back. And you could see that they weren't giving teams even like half a chance. So if they can do that, I don't see how, unless there is a very obvious mistake in defense, in midfield, somebody giving away the ball, I don't see how England will score. And the same goes to England. England's defense also, to be fair, they've been very disciplined. At least they haven't done anything that catastrophic. And it has been, even in the previous game, other than that, Pickford letting in, I felt the minute that shot went in, it looked like that was something the keeper, or a bigger keeper, or someone who's a bit more agile, should have dealt with. Fair enough, that was shot with some venom, but I feel like somebody else, someone slightly bigger or someone a little bit more agile, would have dealt with it a little bit better at least. So it'll come down to who can hold on to their nerves a little bit better.
Yeah. And yeah, I think that's the interesting thing, which is what Spain do with the ball when they. I hope they don't make mistakes. I was telling Rishi yesterday only. Fabian Ruiz, a couple of times when they were in corner situations, defensive corner situations, he's trying to play out from his own box, and I'm like, and that's where I think you win or lose games. And he gave away the ball a couple of times. It was not just him trying to play and they were successful at it. They actually lost the ball a couple of times. So I think the same worry for me for Spain at least. But their white players, Dudadi, Lamine Yamal, it's probably going to be him up against Trippier and Guehi on that left hand side. Do you think he can get the better of them?
See, the talent with Yamal is there, and he's been doing it to an extent. He's been playing very. I think he's been one of the best players throughout this tournament, consistency wise. Almost since the first game against Croatia, he's been very dangerous. Even against France itself, like before he scored a goal, he had set up a clear header for Fabian Ruiz, just got it, and that danger is always
Yeah.
going to be there, because in terms of more than an attacking output of dangerous in the box, I still think he has a lot of time to physically develop in that area and also get the maturity. But he's very dangerous in setting up dangerous crosses into the box. And I think if you have a late runner like Fabian Ruiz coming in, or if for example you can put a dangerous box into Morata, you can always score certain goals, and that's where I think Yamal can be more dangerous in terms of creating chances from the wide. I think that's very important for him to be able to do that against Trippier. He's a guy who uh, again, I've seen him. He can be defensively lackluster. Maybe you can say he's more than lackluster, a bit careless, and you can easily dribble through him. And that's one thing which is worrying. I still think Luke Shaw might end up starting the game, but we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah. And is he one of the shouts usually for you, like for player of the tournament, Lamine Yamal, a goal and 3 assists?
I mean, definitely. He has been him and Nico Williams, I think, has been the difference. Like, for Germany, it's been someone like Musiala, and that's like the crux of teams that have gotten through. Like, you can see that blueprint is there for like almost every team. Like this, for this England team, it's pretty much been Saka on the left side who's been reliant on trying to create things. Like maybe in the last game, first half, you could say that Phil Foden was trying to do a little bit. But overall, in the grand scheme of things, it's been Saka more likely for England, and same for Spain. And it's not just him. The minute he holds onto the ball, he first of all he comfortably beats his man. He attacks one of the centre backs or the midfielders, so that gives space. I think that's how Danny almost scored. Also, that like he created space, so he dragged players and he just put the ball across, and Olmo could have a free shot. And like he has so many options. The minute he cuts in, he has so many options. Like, there are always runners in. There is always an overlapping wing, full back. There's always a midfielder. So the threat that he creates, I think, and the outputs that he's had, like dude, like six. He's not even 17. I think he turns 17 tomorrow. For someone
Yeah, yeah.
so young, he's coming in. He's whipping in balls. He's putting in quality crosses. He's the finish that he had even against France. I think like for a player of his age, he's having insane maturity. And definitely like I genuinely can't think of many players. I think maybe you can say Fabian Ruiz for Spain and Fabian Ruiz, Rodri, a couple of others from other teams. But if Spain do go on to win the tournament, I can't think of anyone better to give it to than Lamine Yamal.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think, like you mentioned, maturity, and I think one thing even I've seen in him is he knows when to play a pass well. Is when the right back is making an overlapping run, and yeah, it just seems like he's got a great head on his shoulders. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Of course, are the England? Do you think they have like an added boost after losing the 2020 Euros to come back and sort of win it and get through the line this time? Do you think it's an added like push for them?
Yeah, I think that's going to be a huge thing because if you lose a final once, there is, and coming back to that final the next time, I think it's always going to help you in terms of, firstly, it was not a long time ago, it was only 2 years ago. It's still fresh in memory for a lot of players there. Sorry, 3 years ago. And coming into this tournament, especially if we know what happened Euros also, how it went. There are a lot of players who still have, you can say, in terms of like unfinished written stories or whatever you like to say it. I still think that's a bit of it is there in terms of coming back to the Euros, playing a final. Hopefully, there are certain players like Saka and I mean, unfortunately, Sancho, Rashford aren't playing, but to win it back, like that's my point. And maybe that incident will still be scarred in terms of okay, some form of air quotes redemption story. I mean, to be fair, it's not a redemption story when look at it. Those young lads, they took England to the finals at that time, and it's more of okay, can they do it again? Can they win it this time? It's more of that kind of thing. And I mean, to be fair, England coming to the finals itself is a bro. I can't remember last time I've ever seen such a terrible team coming to a finals ever before. Like terrible teams in terms of the way they've been coached. This entire you look at Spain's form in this tournament, it's always green. They won every single game they come to the finals. You see England's form in the entire tournament, it's like 4 draws, 2 wins, and you know how they won again. Like it was very scraped
Yeah,
wins.
exactly.
So it's like it's so weird to see like such a not even bad team, like a terribly coached team coming to the finals. And dude, for some reason, I feel like if teams can do that and come to the finals, there has to be some form of reason. And I feel like that's the only reason that I give them the edge in terms of they've been there before. You know what happened last time. They're back in the Euros final again. Plus the way they play terribly, but they're still in the finals. As I said, it's only down to players' quality and players, certain players' determination why they are in the finals. Like our last game it was Watkins, previously Saka, previously Bellingham. It was only moments why they're here right now. So it'll be interesting. I still weirdly have a feeling like okay, there has to be some reason why these guys are in the finals again. And even if they're not the best team, you can still win tournaments. We've seen that previously also. So maybe you can hope for an England win in terms of that.
Who's hoping? Who's hoping for an England win?
England
That's
fans. But I actually want
England
England to win, as I said before
bro.
also. Like,
How can you want
I would
England?
rather see my Arsenal boys thrive than not. So yeah.
I would want to see my Arsenal boys do well, but bro, I think Spain deserve it. I honestly like.
To
It's
be
beyond
fair,
my age
Spain
to
should have
understand.
not even been in this final if you're talking about deserving.
Why?
Because against Germany, I still think Germany have been the best team the entire tournament. And against
So fair
Germany's
enough.
team,
Germany were really good.
Germany should have had a clear-cut penalty, which they didn't get, right? And
Yeah,
that's the
yeah, but
reason they Spain
I think
is.
Spain have been fairly good as well. So I think I don't mind Spain being in the final at all. Like I think they would. For me, I think they deserve to win it. But yeah, Rishi, who do you think wins it, bro? England or Spain?
I mean, bro, we've sat here last three rounds, like semis, quarters,
Bro, I
round of 16,
swear, bro,
group
I
stages.
swear.
We've all
Just
sat
kick
and
them out already, man.
slating England left, right, center. But and I think last time I told also, like, bro, we're not gonna expect anything different. And same thing happened this time also. It was not like suddenly they became well coached, and they just had a moment. And I don't even want to go to England because I think we've already slated them enough. And I think news broke today that Southgate is going to continue for the World Cup 2026,
Insane,
regardless
insane.
of the result. I don't know how they are seeing this happen. And this reminds me so much of the 2016 Euros, where Portugal didn't win in the group stages. They scraped through in the knockouts, and they somehow managed to have
That's what I mean. Like, remember that
Yeah,
France
it's
Euros where
possible.
France
No, no, it's
dominated the
definitely
end.
possible. It's
Exactly,
possible
man.
for
Like,
sure.
bro, there's no sense for me like to have England, the worst team I've ever seen, come into the finals like the way I have. Like,
like
bro,
they
it
were
just
they
feels
were literally 30 seconds away from exiting versus Slovakia,
Slovakia.
like yeah,
exactly,
Slovakia.
Slovakia.
exactly.
And now they're 90 minutes away from lifting the trophy. And the nature of the tournament, the nature of the game is such that Spain could play all the football they want, create all the chances. If you don't put it if you don't put it in the net, if you don't see out the game, england England is such a team that they just need half a chance. One erratic pass in the box, they have a good poacher in Kane. One, once you lose a man, you have players, you have shooters like Saka, you have players like Bellingham who are gonna they're not gonna need much to put away their chance. So it's pretty much down to Spain, and like exactly how it was for Netherlands also. If they could finish their chances, if they could take control of the game. See, I feel at least in this game they're gonna have, like, England are gonna find it slightly difficult, because I felt Netherlands pretty much let England do whatever they want. Like
They
England,
did.
it
Yeah.
looked as if England suddenly became so much better when it came down to poor coaching from Koeman as well. And I feel at least in this game, England are not going to have it that easy. They're going to be a little bit more under the cosh. They're going to be a little bit. They're going to have to dig it deep and be a little bit more disciplined, because Spain are going to, of course, hold the ball a lot more. They're going to try and create chances. They're going to overload the wings. Their midfield is going to run, but that definitely means that they are going to open up and leave spaces in behind. It's all about how they're going to track back and cover and be disciplined and not play into England's hands. That I can't believe I'm sitting here and saying that England have a good chance. But again, the script has already been there. It's happened before also. Greece Euros, Portugal Euros. Like, there's just something eerie about this. Like, it's down to Spain having to rescue football, man.
Yeah, yep. I swear. I mean, it's going to be a great final. Yeah, Sunday night, everybody wants to tune in, and then the next morning, for those who wish to watch Argentina play the final, you can
I will be there.
stay
I will
up
be there.
and not sleep and watch that as well. So yeah, it's going to be exciting. Going to be fun. England, Spain. It's down to this. Everybody, let us know in the comments who you think should win this year's Euros. Follow, like, and share these videos. Subscribe to SportsKhabri. We'll see you soon. Bye bye.